Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. So, I was hoping to do one of my Attainable Collection of Envy 100 list items a week for 100 weeks. That was my goal. It hasn't quite worked out that way. I haven't done one for like 3 or 4 weeks. Honestly, work has been crazy, and I just haven't had time to do videos and priorities. Plus, when one of my kids wants to hang out, I'm going to prioritize them over this 100% of the time. There's no question about it. So I'm doing a little catch up and then pushing things out even further by getting to number 90 in this video. Hope that makes you happy. It doesn't make me very happy, honestly, because some of these deserve longer videos. Some of these athletes deserve longer videos. Some of these cards deserve longer videos. But maybe I'll turn the series into a book at some point and write about my feelings about some of these athletes and cards. I've already done that with the first 3, I think, in the newsletter. So maybe I'll turn all of these into newsletter items at some point in the future. I don't have time to type these up right now, so we're going to jump in. Tomorrow, remember, I'm at the Shriners Baseball Card Show in Wilmington, Massachusetts. I'll be there from about 9 a.m. to noon. If you see me, say hey. I'll be kind of zipping around as much as I can, as quickly as I can with my friend Oliver. Let's jump in, though. Number 97 is the 1986 Jose Canseco rated rookie Donruss card. I should have pulled mine out. But I have a couple of these already. I should have pulled them out so I could show them. But again, busy. So Canseco was a megastar almost immediately. The card that I have, which I've since sent off to get autographed twice. I've had 2 of them autographed, but the one that I've kept is my childhood one. My parents gave it to me when they were still married in 87, I think. And it was a super expensive card, and it was expected to be worth millions someday back at that time. And it was given to me for Christmas, and it was the greatest thing I'd ever received. 1987, I was 8 years old. It was in a screw down, which I left it in the screw down until a few years ago when I dug out my childhood collection. And another thing that was gifted to me that Christmas was a fireproof safe, which I still have. It's sitting over here. And my parents told me you have to keep this in this screw down case, in this safe, because it is going to be worth millions. Looking back, it seems so silly. But at the time, we legitimately believed it. And I think a lot of you did too. So the Canseco, he's got the mustache, and it's a close-up. He ended up doing 40-40, creating the 40-40 Club in 1988. Tons of famous, still famous. Even though his Twitter is followed by a lot, and he's tweeting a lot, I don't think it's really him who's tweeting anymore. But I do enjoy it. He tweets something like, "Good morning to everybody except Alex Rodriguez." He hates Alex Rodriguez. And the Canseco card is so special, it's so meaningful, and you can get it for next to nothing. You can get the card for $5 easily. You can get it autographed for another 15 or 20, whatever Canseco's charging right now. And then you have one of the most desirable cards at the peak of desirability, 86 Donruss at that time, for $20 autographed by the player, by the athlete, the superstar. And remember, this series, just as a reminder, this series is not about finding the most valuable cards or the best investments or anything like that. Although a lot of these do turn out to be good investments. Maybe, but no guarantees. This is about the athletes that transcended their sport, that people sat around the table and talked about, or at the water cooler, back when that was a thing. And everybody knew them. Beyond baseball fans, everybody knew who Jose Canseco was. And that's why this card gets on the list. Of course, he went on to become the face of steroids and all kinds of stuff. Sad story, Jose Canseco. Baseball bounced off his head and became a home run. But the 1986 Donruss rated rookie Jose Canseco is number 97 on my list. Number 96 is the 1970 Panini Campione Arthur Ashe. Now, Ashe has a card in 1966, too difficult to find, so I didn't want to use that one. But I did want to have Arthur Ashe on my list because Arthur Ashe still, to this day, is the only black tennis player to have ever won Wimbledon, the US Open, or the Australian Open. That's not an and situation. No other black athlete has won any of those three, according to my research. Somebody's going to say, oh, you forgot about so-and-so. I don't think so. He's also the first black player named to the Davis Cup team. He had 3 Grand Slam singles titles, 2 in doubles. He was, as a kid, he was segregated. He could not play against white kids and still went on to become one of the best. Number 95 is actually 3 players and 3 cards because I could not separate these 3 guys. And actually, it's tennis right after tennis, which I also tried kind of avoiding having it being the same. But 95 is Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal, because you can't tell the story of the 2003 through 2024 tennis without all 3 of them. So I decided to lump them all into one number. Federer's is the 2003 Net Pro Elite. It's numbered to 2000. I have this one, which is not numbered and is worth almost nothing, even though it's PSA 10. And as I sit here doing my video, I realized that my mantle was backwards, but I've fixed it now. So my wife always gets me, and people noticed it in yesterday's video, and I just forgot to turn it back around before I did this one this morning. So Federer, Djokovic, Nadal combined, I don't know. I should have looked this up, but Djokovic has, I think, 24 Grand Slam titles. Federer 22. Nadal must have, 15-ish, so over 60 in 20 years. That's like 3/4 of the Grand Slam titles. It's crazy. It's quite an era. So the 2003 Net Pro Elite numbered to 2000 for Federer. Djokovic is the 2006 Ace Authentic Grand Slam Center Court Stars, numbered to 599. These aren't cheap. And the Nadal is the 2003 Net Pro Glossy. And I have a Net Pro Nadal 2003 and a PSA 9, but not the Glossy. And the 9 cost me $12, I think. So the Glossy's not that expensive. Number 94 is Pavo Nurmi, a Finnish runner who always finished. Sorry. He had 22 world records from his 14-year career between the 1500 to the 20K, 9 gold medals in the Olympics, 3 silvers, 121 consecutive wins, which is insane. His W590, which would be his rookie because it's from 1925, there's only 1 graded by PSA. So I'm not picking that one because it's near impossible. But the 1926 Greiling has a bunch of variations, and 17 have been graded by PSA. That's the one I'm going with. That one, again, tough to find. There's one on eBay right now for $3,500. And that's a big one. Nurmi is a massive athlete who, again, in the 1920s, transcended sport and his country. Huge. One of the all-time greats. And a lot of people have never heard of him. Number 93 is the 1989 Fleer Billy Ripken F-Face Error card. I'm not going to get into the story behind it. You all know the story. He had F-Face written on the knob of his bat. I have one, but I didn't get it out. That's okay. You've seen it. It's an easy card to come by. I bought about one of them for $20 at the height of the pandemic. It's probably $10 now. You can get it autographed for another, $100, $150. You can get it in a PSA 9 for $60, $70, $80 probably. It's not an expensive card. It's not particularly rare, but it is in high demand. And of course, there are a lot of variations. A lot of people like to collect the entire rainbow of variations, the saw cut, the scribble out, the white out, all those things. I find that to be fun. That's a cool little side project that I will not be doing, but I enjoy seeing it. Number 92 is 2013 Panini Prism Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Certainly, he was the greatest basketball player in the world for quite a few years, and now is second to Jokic. Giannis has a couple of MVPs. He carried his team to a title after hyperextending his knee in the playoffs. And that team wasn't particularly good. He was the only star in a league where you need at least 2 stars to win a title. But he carried his team. He's amazing. A guy who came into the league too skinny, bad shooter, still a bad shooter, but he's just a truck. He's a tank. And had to have him on the list. So he's number 92. You can get his base 10 for $500 or a 9 for $200. You can get the Prism, Silver Prism or whatever it is, in a PSA 9 for $3,500. Number 91, and here's where some debate is going to happen. Hulk Hogan, 1982 Wrestling All-Stars. Again, a guy who transcended sport. Now, some of you will say that's not a sport, wrestling's not a sport, but you have to be an athlete to do it. I was never a wrestling guy, except on the weekends when I went to my cousin's house. And their favorite was Ultimate Warrior. This was in 1990, 89, 90, 91-ish. And all we did all weekend was sports and wrestling and stuff like that, watch wrestling. But Hulk Hogan everybody loved Hulk Hogan. And he transcended wrestling, where everybody knew who Hulk Hogan was in the 80s and 90s. It's just, I had to have him on this list. The 82 Wrestling All-Stars, a PSA 1, goes for $700. And it's interesting because he's known for the bluster, the being loud and obnoxious and tough. And his card, he looks very meek on the card. It's a strange picture that they chose for him. All right, not last, but number 90, last for today, is the 1934 Gaudi Hank Greenberg. Greenberg is a guy who, some of you would say, why is Hank Greenberg on this list? Well, he is, for many reasons. He was a 2-time MVP. He missed 3 full seasons, plus another almost full season, plus half of another season. So about 4.5 seasons to WAR. At a time like Ted Williams missed 5 years, and he's credited for that. But you never hear people talk about Hank Greenberg missing almost 5 years to WAR. He was the first MLB player to join the military. He spent 47 months in, the longest of any MLB player. He was the first Jewish superstar in baseball. He didn't play on Rosh Hashanah and suffered from a lot of anti-Semitic attacks for it, and was one of the first and only people to welcome Jackie Robinson into MLB, opposing players, I should say, into MLB when Jackie Robinson joined, because of those attacks he had suffered himself. So he's a very important part of baseball history, plus an amazing, amazing baseball player. And somebody once said he only has 55 WAR. First of all, WAR is not everything, but, and talking about capital WAR, wins above replacement, not the WAR that he missed 4.5 years for. He averaged about 6 or 7 WAR in the seasons surrounding his WAR service. So if let's say he just averaged 6 in those 4.5 seasons, he'd be up over 80 WAR for his career, which is guaranteed Hall of Famer. So I think that's a bad argument that he only had 55 WAR. So that's the list up to number 90. I'm going to try to get 1 out per week between now and this ends, but I might just do 5 a week, do 1 video with 5. We'll see. I think this was pretty easy up until I get to like 50, and then we'll zip through, do 1 a week from there. Let me know any of your thoughts on any of these athletes. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you tomorrow.